What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here, joined by Bill Schmid. It's another edition of Carry the G Radio, the podcast, coming to you while I'm away. I'm on vacation as you guys listen to this. It's dropping while I am outside New York City. Bill Schmid joining us from the great state of Wisconsin. Billy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Not as good as you are currently right now, because vacation Nagler is going to be the absolute prime. Like, I can only see I got visions of what vacation Aaron is like, because there's certain people that vacation differently, right? There's some that want to kick back, relax. You can't tell me nothing. I'm going to hang out.
Don't give me a schedule.
And then there's others that are like, we are going to be useful on this vacation.
No.
We are going to see everything and anything.
Absolutely
and
not.
I can't. Yeah,
Nope.
you're with me on that one. I'm gonna be hanging out. You tell me where I gotta be, and
I'll get
hopefully
there.
I'm there. And hopefully I'm there. Yep.
I'll get there. But, planning a vacation, I said to my girlfriend, like, look, this is it. This is my only request. Requirement, right? Once we arrive at our destination, I do not want anything scheduled. There is no thing that we have to do. We have to meet someone, or we have to go see this thing. There's little curtains at X time. Nope. I want to drive up. I want to hit the liquor store. We're going to check into the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 days later, we shall return. And
check out and drive back.
In between, I don't want any schedule. I don't want any deadline. I don't want nothing that I have to do.
That's the right way to go about it. That's the right way to go about it, because the only thing that I'm trying to schedule is a nap when I'm in that kind of a vacation.
Exactly.
Because there's going to be as much relaxing and listen, a little self-care never hurt anybody. That's a good one. I'm excited for you.
I can't wait. And I can't wait for football season, Billy.
Thank
We're
God.
one step closer. Finally closing the book on the offseason. Minicamp is in the rearview mirror. I got to ask you, because we haven't talked much at all, obviously this offseason, but since the end of minicamp, any big takeaways there, Bill Schmid, the voice of Packers OT and the Packers Radio Network as an official vessel for the franchise? Is there something you take away from this offseason in general, or, the minicamp practices that maybe you didn't think before, or maybe surprised you, or maybe there's a player you thought, I don't really think much about that guy, but all of a sudden I'm seeing his name all the time, and anything that leaps to mind regarding this Packers offseason?
Okay, so that last one right there, before I forget it, Kalen King is the player,
okay.
right? Like, I think there's some people that were like, didn't they cut him? Right? Like, there's some people that are like, he's still on the football team, right? He's still here. He was there developing and wait for an opportunity to try to take advantage of. I think the biggest takeaway is your brand is going to be taking a serious slap in the face.
Oh, no.
You need to figure this this out. You got to stop being right all the time.
What was I right about?
You got to stop being right all the time. I'm sitting here talking on the 50,000 watt radio station all off season long, saying it's getting closer that Jaire Alexander is going to be on the football team. It's getting closer and closer to Jaire Alexander being on the team in 2025. Right. And every time that we would be chopping it up, we'd either talk on the show, talk on the pod, maybe pump the brakes a little bit. I'll believe it when I see it. And we had wondered when there was going to be a deadline.
Right.
And I think this is the one that you were even the most right about, because we had tried to put different timelines on it, right? Is it going to be before the end of free agency? Is he going to get traded before the draft? Oh, it's night 2 of the draft. That's when veterans get traded, right? Not night 1. It's night 2 because you didn't get guy in the first round. Well, the contract said nobody's valuing him close to a first rounder.
Nope.
And I think it was right after the draft we had you on, and you had said June 10th is the first practice. So I'd say like June 9th is probably the realistic actual deadline. And son of a bitch, that guy gets cut, or the Jeremy Fowler, Rob Domofsky, whoever had it first. I apologize if I don't give you the right credit. Everybody had it. That he was released. And now his dad is going on radio shows telling you why and how the Packers could have kept him. There's a lot to it, Nags. I just got to say, I'm wearing a shirt that says "For the brand." You got to think of your brand. You got to stop being right all the time.
It's a problem. But look, I mean, I didn't know for sure, but it was my best guess. And it is. I love the father thing because, like, yeah, man, go to bat for your kid. You absolutely should, right? Like, people get all bent out of shape about that, or Christian Watson's dad going ham on Twitter all the time. It's like they should. It's their kid. My thing that I find so fascinating is watching all of these folks, fans, media alike, being like, could the Packers have kept him? What was their offer? What didn't they do to keep him? What more do you need at this point to understand that these two sides were just done with each other?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where my continual kind of throwing water on it throughout the offseason. It's like, from everything we've heard, and even stuff that's behind the scenes, off the record stuff, like, it's just very clear. And I talk about this all the time, Billy. It is a relationship business. The NFL is driven by relationships more than anything else. And it's so clear that this relationship was just over. Like, both sides were ready for a clean split. And I think it's going to benefit both sides. I really do. I understand people aren't wild about the corners and the cornerback room in Green Bay, but I do think they're going to play a hell of a lot better than people expect them to. And I think Jaire is going to ball out in Baltimore. So I think this is a good thing for both sides.
I also think the strength of the Packers secondary is the safeties, and the amount of malleability you have in the secondary is infinite. And somewhat, Jaire probably hamstrung you a little bit from that because you only really want to play outside. Right now, could he travel with anybody, line up inside if you have to? Sure, right? He's talented.
He did some of that throughout his career.
And he did do some of that throughout his career, but most likely an outside corner, and that's where you're going to stick. And then there was going to have to be a lot of potential movement during the week, because that was inevitably going to happen, right? At some point, he was going to get dinged up, and that there was going to be questions if he'd be available. And I do struggle with, because I'm with you, right? Like, you can find a relationship that is just untenable. I kind of thought at some point both sides would sit back and say, we make one more go at this thing. It can be better for all of us involved, right? Because I don't know that I necessarily should have put Baltimore right away at the top of the suitors. I just instantly looked at the division because they're the ones that generally are going to see a player that much and see what's good and bad about that player. But they had kind of filled all their holes, right? Murphy doesn't leave in free agency for Minnesota. The Lions sign DJ Reed, who you and I had talked about during free agency, liking him for the Packers. They gave him a boatload of money. And the Bears are pretty well set there because they got Jalen Johnson, so they're not paying any more money there. So that there were different spots where I didn't see a great landing spot where one more year, a little bit of a prove it situation, prove it deal, we could have best football for you. Packers get the best football, and then we're all good. Then everybody shakes their hands at the end of this thing. At the end of 2025, we go our separate ways, rip up that final year of the contract and go. But it's clear when you're getting $4 million base.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what the Packers offered, because I can't think that it was all that much. And like that, I see one final twist of the knife, because both sides had one in the other. No pause. And they were waiting to when they would twist, and that would be the final nail in the coffin.
No, which was look, and it's funny the way they're going to play defense, and the way we saw them play defense last year, with the expectation throughout the week that Jaire was going to be available, and then he's not, and then they have to, obviously switch some things around in the secondary, and then something happens in the game itself, like additional injuries happen.
Yeah.
How many times do we see things cascade because there was an injury, because a safety or a corner or whoever goes down, and now all these guys have to switch spots, etc. I think not having as much kind of will he, won't he, etc. will certainly help. But I also think what you're talking about there, as far as like their mindset about, okay, let's give it one more year. That was last year.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Coming off the season where he was suspended for a game, they found that common ground and gave it one more run. And at the end of it, it just wasn't working. That's what I think people kind of, for whatever reason, seem to miss. It's like they got to that point last year when they sat him for a game due to not just the thing that happened down in Charlotte, but a series of events, an accumulation, to use their phrase, So I think, they were just, both sides were just done. And that's fine.
It happens.
I'm fine with it.
It definitely happens. I do think that it will be interesting to see. And now the conversation has been much different. I think when you think of the player that was suspended a year ago, Romeo Doubs, right? Like, would this be the final year? Because he goes into a contract year, right? Where very much they could say, hey, both sides, we're going to play our best. They probably have a conversation right now where a player that has produced the way that Romeo has, some people say, what has he done? It's called like 15 touchdowns in 3 years. Like
really productive for the Packers.
Really productive, especially in red zone spots. He's going to get paid, and people are going to be surprised by the amount of money that he would make on the open market if he hits free agency. But I think that's going to be a big question about it is we would like to see a little bit more. They would probably like to have something dialed in at this point or in the middle of a contract year. And maybe you shake hands and say, we gave it one more go. We knew that this would be the best situation for both. And then do be your part by a separation of free agency. And I think Jaire was waiting there, wondering how long he was going to have to wait. And it seemed, I'm fascinated, Eggs, because it does appear that there were some rumblings, some teams that would be interested in it. But I do also like the Packers just saying, that's not worth our squeeze. We're not paying any of this money for him to play football for you. So we'll wait.
Precisely. And I find it interesting. Like the whole conversation about cutting Jaire reminds me of the fallout publicly, especially from certain fans and some sections of the fandom about kind of drudging up that old chestnut that the Packers don't care about winning championships, Billy, because they've cut a player who I guess people know has been really good in the past, can't stay on the field, is still pretty damn good when he plays, but rarely plays. But because they've cut him, they don't care about winning championships. Like, I don't understand that mindset. Like, I get it. I get that it's frustrating when a player that you like as a fan is jettisoned. But man, like using that to paint with this incredibly big brush over Brian, the organization, what have you. It's like, do you understand what these people do day in and day out for their livelihoods? Like to stay employed and are without a doubt 4 billion times more focused on the job of acquiring players to build a roster to go and contend for a championship. While you, whoever you might be, a podcaster, a radio host, a fan at the end of the bar, you have your moment, you say your piece, and then you go on with your life. These folks live it. Like, that's what kind of drives me insane. This, I'll say it, a lack of respect for what it is and how much work these people do to try and bring a championship home to your favorite team. Like, Billy, I'm telling you, man, this shit, it's driving me insane. It's driving me insane.
What do you mean, Next? They haven't done it in 15 years, so clearly they're not trying.
They just don't care.
All the other 25 teams that haven't won a championship in the last 15 years. Like they clearly haven't tried. Now the interesting thing is they haven't had the kind of turnover at the positions of prominence like some of those other ones have done. And people, I think that's a maybe more fair conversation of like, have you done it? Have you done everything and you turned every stone over to try to compete for championships? And I actually think they have, because I believe continuity is more impactful than people have ever given it credit for
100%
in professional sports,
especially on the offensive side of the ball in the NFL. I think the continuity you can find there is worth its weight in gold. I think on defense, the nature of the sport on that side of the ball is so much more reactionary. Now, obviously, you have calls, you have assignments, whatever. But like, man, at some point, it's see ball, get ball. You know what I mean? On offense, I think you 100% benefit from as much continuity as you can generate. Now,
growing in an offense, understanding the calls, understanding what's expected of you, the why as to what you're running. And that's what you hope for when the competing for championships comment comes up from Goody at the end of January.
Right.
Is like, now everyone knows the shit. Right? Now everybody goes into mini camp and OTAs not learning what the expectations are. It's simply just refining everything that we just did for 7 months, right? And I think that's the part that should be rather exciting. And I liked it when it did kind of seem like when you were just going off on that little bit of did you have a little bit of that conversation with Corey before you guys sat down with Goody last week? Like,
no.
Don't fire off the
pre-production.
Corey was waiting. He had those gloves. He was eyed up. He was waiting to be able to pounce on one. I thought it was, first off, phenomenal job. Also,
thanks.
Brian laughing.
I know, right?
Giggling. That was different. That was
we get him a couple times. We get he laughs like once a year when he appears on Cheesehead TV.
I don't know. He laughed like 3 times in the first 7 minutes. I thought I was watching a simulation, but I thought it was AI. I did. That background was gorgeous. But no, it was awesome to be able to hear like him work through that part of the process of, hey, we're young. Now we still have young players, but they've played so much football together. They have grown. They've gone through a lot of battles together. They're battle tested together. They've now learned one of the toughest lessons is you don't pick up right where you left off, where you were
1,000%.
a quarter away from a game away from going to the Super Bowl. Now you got to relearn how to beat everybody in the NFL because they've tried to learn how to beat you and be better versions of themselves. So I think they learned a lot of lessons as a young offense a year ago.
Agreed.
That are really going to be impactful going into this year to start up against, and we already ran through the schedule, to start up quick and start on their feet because they're going to play some of the best competition right out of the gates.
I think that's the biggest component that I guess it's hard to highlight it or analyze it because it is going to be dependent on the players just producing consistently. But finding that consistency, to me, that's what this season is all about. Because you think about last year, a lot has been made about the drops, right, on offense. Like tons of drops, led the league, depending on which kind of analytical site you're looking at, but way too many drops, especially on 3rd and 4th down, drive killers, etc. But man, there's also all the pre-snap penalties. There's also all the mistakes in the red zone by the quarterback, by the offensive line, by, both like missed assignments and calls to, like, say, just using the wrong side of the field. Oh, should have gone to the wide side, etc. That's a play call thing, right? Just so many ways that they shot themselves in the foot repeatedly throughout last season. This season, to me, is all about that young core finding that consistency, that idea that, yeah, you can produce. You have produced in the league. But until you're doing it at a high level week in and week out on a consistent basis and you're not being your own worst enemy, you remain eminently beatable. You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
And replaceable.
You can't be false starting. You can't be holding. You can't be giving them the opportunities. You have to seize the opportunities. And it's hard. Again, like, that's not a quantifiable thing. That's not something I can sit here and say, well, if they X, Y, Z and let's do this, and then like that will happen. Like, no, the guys have to do it. And that's what I think is both exciting and frustrating because it's like, I want to get to the season. Let's go and watch it occur. That's what I'm waiting on.
Well, and one of the reasons why I want it to happen so quickly is because I'm so bullish on how it can translate, right? Does that make sense? Like, I do believe 100%. What you just explained. A lot of it can come from, like, I'm thinking of Rasheed Walker when you're talking about holding. At the end of the season, he's playing some dominant football at times, and then there's other times where it's like, well, that was a series where
it's really
we're going to not want to watch that tape, right? Where you can think going to the sideline, he's like, that play's happening. That play's going to get circled. We're going to talk about that one for about 5 or 7 minutes. And there was way too many of that, even though the high points were really, really good and really thought good, of where that dude can play left tackle in the NFL for a long time. So you figure some of those out. I don't even think everybody has to figure it all out, right? Because you have found alternatives, right? Like whether it's whether it's a Belton, whether it's Jacob Morgan, if indeed, well, and I'm thinking like at center too. If this Elton Jenkins thing doesn't work as well as everyone thinks it does,
oh boy,
you have alternatives in Monk and company and Morgan at left tackle. So like I think their base in the front is going to be really good again, and has a chance to be pretty elite in front of Jordan, who at the end of the year, you mentioned it, like some of the questions, some of the shooting yourselves in the foot. I thought later into the year, he was really precise at getting them into the right thing. Then being able to execute it and everyone around him executing was more of the problem.
Yes.
They can be, we went 12-5. I've already found a 13th win, like as I've been able to discuss it, right?
Okay.
Like I think they're sweeping the Vikings. Like the closer it comes to, I think they're sweeping the Vikings.
You're not stocking up on that JJ McCarthy stock. Is that what you're telling me?
No, and I think Justin Jefferson's having way too much fun in this offseason. I mean, my man's going to game 6 between the Pacers and Thunder. That doesn't fit. What are you doing? He's not dialed in on the right things. So regression there. Okay. Regression there can find another win. And that's 13 wins. And you're going to find it hard to not see me going to the Potawatomi Sportsbook taking plus 275 for them to win this division next.
Oh my gosh. Well, with rock solid logic like that, I don't see how you can't. I mean, absolutely not.
Game 6 of the NBA Finals, June 19th. What are you doing? That's gonna hurt them coming week 13
It's
or
the
14.
off season. What are you talking about? Homeboy can do whatever he wants.
We gotta
I
fabricate
get
some
it.
storylines.
Exactly. I get it. This is
season.
you
Come
pushing a
on.
narrative, anti-Vikings narrative. I understand it, and I respect
Because my
it.
last one didn't work very well with trying to get Kevin O'Connell to go.
You were trying to get O'Connell
out.
out the job, yeah, and that didn't happen. Instead, they signed him to an extension. So maybe don't go hard into this one because
Damn, and the GM. I thought I was getting a legit rift between the GM
nope.
and the head coach, right? Hey, head coach is making the quarterback decisions. You heard that one this year, right? Yeah. He's got big sway into that. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah can't like that. He probably wants to go somewhere else.
And
that one got squashed like a bug. See, it's Schmid's never right now. I'm taking the brand. We're
gonna make the shirts. But speaking of extensions, how about Ed Policy saying into a microphone, several of them, to be clear. Don't believe in guys going into the final years of their deal. Don't believe in the lame duck stuff. Oh, by the way, my head coach and general manager both have 2 years left on their deal.
How about that?
Interesting stuff. Let's talk about just planting seeds. I think Policy has, probably a good design on how he feels about the job that Gutekunst and LaFleur have done. He was effusive in his praise in these interviews with the local beat, but he's also given himself the year to go like, okay, are you making that step? Are you going to make forward progress here, or are we going to keep stagnating? And then that gives him every reason to say, you know what? Feel like we're plateauing. Maybe I should get my own guys in here.
Yeah. And with what you just mentioned, his ideas of what and how Brian and how Matt have learned and grown in their positions.
Right.
He's also sat back for the last year and thought about what he's going to do and how he plans to potentially tweak some things. And I don't, again, tweak sounds bad, right? But when you're in this position and you're in a spot of such prominent power, you can't tell me it's not human nature to get a little aggressive. I feel like you want to make a mark on such a prominent role. And I just, it's going to be a little different. I don't necessarily know that that's a bad thing. However, it's the biggest change that you can have in an organization.
Right.
And you just don't see it right away. A lot of times it's when a general manager is looking 3 to 5 years down the line. It's like a prospect in baseball, right? Like you hope that you're developing them right. You hope that they're continuing to run the process and run the race the right way until all of a sudden you look and you're like, hey man, whatever happened to that second round pick that the Brewers had? He was, I thought he was really, really good. Oh, he's playing with the Lake Country Dockhounds. An independent ball. Oh, 4 years later? That's not great. So you learn it as it's already happened and transpired. I think that policy is going to be fantastic, but I do think that he's going to put his mark and is going to want to let everybody know that, you know what, he's the new man in charge, and it's a little bit different story now.
It's interesting, given his remarks and everything I read. I mean, it doesn't feel like too much is going to change initially, obviously.
Yeah.
But the one tweak, to use the word you used, is meeting with the guys a little bit more. Going from they met with Mark every 3 weeks or so, and now we're going to be meeting every week.
Yep. Just a little something different.
I don't know, Billy.
Just a little something different.
Not a fan of the president, CEO, anybody on the business side of things getting more involved with football. Never been a fan of it. Not a huge fan of it. I know it's not that big a deal. I understand that. But it's like, I feel like, Game of Thrones, you're on the wall and you're seeing some wildings or whatever the hell you're seeing. And like, now you go back and you tell people and you warn them and they think, oh, he's just making it up and like, whatever. Man, I am the watcher on the wall, dude. And I am telling you, that is something to be wary of. Like, and I don't know, I will see. And he left open the door to, the possibility of, hey, I might change the structure back. He might give the GM.
Oh, I might do that. Yeah.
Football.
I might do that.
Which, by the way, is kind of.
I might also give him my parking spot inside underneath the stadium. I'm not gonna, but I might.
Well, what is funny though is like, if he did that, that would be literally the job that Brian interviewed for, which is kind of like forgotten about in the kind of pantheon of the history of the Packers now. But like, Brian legit interviewed for Ted's job, and then had that interview down in Houston, and got taken out of a dinner with the Texans because Mark Murphy was like, we're going to offer you the job. Oh, by the way, it's not that job. It's so a little different now. Now you are on equal footing with the coach rather than hiring the coach. Like, that's always kind of fascinating to me that, like, you interviewed for one job, but you got the job that is not the job you interviewed for.
Okay, yeah, so you're right, and I was wrong on this. I had always messed it up that I thought that it was he had gotten the job, did it for a year, and then it kind of changed. But you're right.
No.
They changed the structure when Ted
when he got
was removed. So it was McCarthy also was the one like, wait a second, hold on.
Yeah, hold please.
This ain't my job. And then he's like, yeah, it's not your job anymore. 14 weeks in.
Right.
Okay, yes, you're spot on that, and that's because it is, and this is the one that the way I was saying it on the radio show. Because I'm not trying to be like a fear monger, right? I'm not trying to like everyone know, like, hey, Matt Ishbia is coming in and going to start running the Green Bay Packers. Sorry, that's a basketball thing. Next, he came in, bought the Suns. He's like, hey, I was a walk-on the 2000 Spartans. I know ball. All right,
I know ball.
We're trading everything for Kevin Durant. They're like, actually, that's a really bad idea. They missed the playoffs entirely. And he's right now in the.
That feels like Ditka with the Saints.
Yes, and right now, Nags, he's in the running for like worst owner in the sport.
Ugh.
My man's had it for a year and a half, and like you see it with Dave Tepper. These guys that are super good at business come into pro sports. It's a different beast. This is a different job than it was when Mark Murphy got it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Murphy was all in on sports, right? Player in the league, administrator and AD for 20-some years.
Ran a big program.
And now it's a different job that Ed Policy's getting. Sure, he might change it back.
But here's the other thing, too.
Probably won't, but could.
Policy has been drafted and developed by the Packers. That's the best part.
And that's what exactly it.
That's what Corey and I were talking about last year. It's like, if it's not policy, what are we doing here? Like,
it would have been the big. It might have been the most stunning move in sports for the Packers. If
you were probably too young to remember, but like people forget that when Harlan was stepping down, they initially had somebody else other than Mark Murphy as the successor, president and CEO, somebody in-house.
Oh, like in-house.
Yeah. John Jones, who was going to be the man for, I can't remember how long it was, like a week, a month, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And then there were rumblings internally that, we made a mistake. And then, they nixed that. Harlan came back and they got the committee together, and that's when they found Mark Murphy.
Oh, so Bob had stepped away.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Crazy. Dude, it's a crazy little sliver of Packers history that to this day, I don't think too many people know exactly what happened. Before I pass on from this earth, I want to talk to somebody who was involved and figure out what exactly happened there.
Yeah, no doubt.
But, that all of that to say, this was a much smoother transition because they had planned for it and because policy, the whole kind of idea of his tenure in Green Bay has been leading to this moment. And I loved my favorite thing he said, because I'm going to talk about the stuff I didn't enjoy. I'll talk about the thing I really enjoyed, is his mentioning the fact that he is a steward and he sees this as stewardship of the franchise. That is 1 billion% correct. That is exactly what this job is. And that just him saying that, like, it gives me like a little bit of hope as far as, okay, he understands exactly what his role is.
Protecting against complacency, I think, was another buzzword that he had when he joined Drew and KB. And it was like, there's a stewardship as that goes to that this is not yours, that this chair is going to be rented. Yes. And I think that's where the term limit always comes into. Yeah. And you work according to that job, right? Like you work according to that premise of knowing, hey man, somebody else is going to take this thing over at some point, and I got to leave it better than it was before. He's born to do this, right? Like born and bred in a football family to kind of do this. So like it's the right one. And I do also, I don't know, how are your mentions with the keeping the Packers in Green Bay?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it, Billy. I don't want to talk about it. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like the whole world just turned stupid. Like, what is going on, man? I can't. That's always been a guiding principle of the Green Bay Packers. And it's been the guiding principle for every president and CEO that you can name.
Isn't it like in their mission statement?
It just drives me insane. The fact that they're like trying to blow it up into something, I just couldn't. I had to step away because I was losing my mind.
Man, that is maturity that you are showcasing, being able to step away and
I don't know about all that. But,
hammer home and just blow out these kids on the internet with your facts and I said
nobody-
facts. That's the tough part about it.
I don't know about all that, but yeah, no, I couldn't. I can't engage with that. It's just it's too it's my heart is too heavy knowing that there's that much ignorance out there. That's problematic. All right, Billy, this has been phenomenal as always. Cannot thank you enough for the time. What are you doing this summer? You going anywhere? You doing anything? You having any fun?
That's a great question.
Or am I just gonna you're just gonna work your butt off until like July, and then I'll see you in Green Bay?
Work most of it. I am going to take a week off and probably do nothing right around the All-Star break, right before football season starts. Not coaching football this year.
I know.
And I already kind of miss it. However, Nags, there's a little bit of a tweak in the rules in high school football here in Wisconsin.
All right.
And you can be practicing like right now. So if I was coaching, I would have been coaching like right now.
No.
So we're gonna enjoy the summer, and it's gonna be
it's
gonna be a lot of fun. And sadly, a lot of NFL Plus, because we just got to wait for another 71 days, I think, until the kickoff of the NFL season.
Yeah, well, less than that until it's July 23rd and training camp kicks off. And then that first full week, that last week of July, you and I are both going to be in Green Bay, and we're going to throw down.
Yes, and we got a tent already for training camp, so you don't have to be the one to let everybody know on the internet. Like, hey, can you guys get my man Bill a tent?
Can we get Bill a tent before he melts?
Before he's Frosty the Snowman over here.
I felt so bad for you last year. Holy cow. I remember literally walking up to Rainiski Field, and you were like, oh, this is our spot. And I was like, that's the spot? With no covering?
With no cover over there? Brother.
What? You're going to die.
And listen, 2 days and 2 Nagler tweets, and all of a sudden that bad boy got dropped
changed
off.
It all. Changed the entire trajectory of Billy's life.
It was amazing.
Very good. Well, Billy, I will see you in about a month. Enjoy your summer, and thanks as always for making the time here at Cheesehead TV. Really appreciate you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Always fun.